Well, it is a dreary October afternoon here in Indiana, and you are seeing this close-up view of my WeatherWool all-around jacket because while trying to push some stubborn deer in front of Buddy's crossbow yesterday, I had an encounter with some unpleasant vegetation. As you see, my jacket has encountered some plants that wanted to hitch a ride. I just want to talk briefly about how to clean this kind of craziness off of my jacket. Now, I know what these kinds of little burrs do in a sheep's fleece. They get all matted in and locked in and turn into ugly little balls. I guess that doesn't hurt the sheep any and wouldn't hurt a hunting jacket, but this beautiful jacket is an all-around jacket. I wear it everywhere, and I want it to be as clean as possible. Now, I've had some friends tell me that the right way to clean this kind of thing is with duct tape. I guess you're supposed to wrap your hippie duct tape around your hand and then no duct tape, wad it up and throw it away because that tape is just going to pull off wool fibers that you want to leave on your coat, and it's going to leave behind sticky residue. That is a no-go. What you need is a brush, old-fashioned clothes brush. Now, I'm not an expert valet myself. I'll have to ask, I'm sorry, a gentleman's valet myself. I'll have to ask Bunter the next time I see him, but the stiffer your fabric is, the stiffer your brush needs to be. So this brush is a stiff hog's hair brush. It's not so stiff that it would be painful to use it to scrub your hands, but it's pretty stiff. This is appropriate for use on a tweed jacket, and probably this is where you want to start, with a stiff brush for our heavy wool garment. And the proper way to use this brush is always in a one-way brushing motion, never scrubbing back and forth and never jabbing at the wool, because we don't want to pull away pieces of the wool. We just want to clean it. And I want to start my brushing with a nice firm upward brush away from the grain, and I want to always finish with a nice long brush downward, because that's how I want to groom the nap, so it sheds water and so it all looks good. So it's the right way to get dirt off of my jacket. It used to be a critical tool for a gentleman's wardrobe, and in fact, clothes brushes, one of the items that searchers found in the remains of the Franklin expedition after it disappeared in the Canadian Arctic, and they found these brushes that the naval officers used to take care of their wool uniform coats, and the conclusion of the searchers was that they must have been losing their minds, because this is not the kind of thing they should have taken on the sleds when they left their ships. But in fact, Arctic explorers relied on a brush to remove the very fine, dry snow that was like sand and get it out of their garments before it melted inside the tent and made a source of water that would chill them. Now, this brush, like I say, the correct brush for cleaning my jacket, but I found that I'm going to need something stiffer to get these burrs out, and I have here a horsehair brush, in the sense that it is both made of horsehair and designed to be used on a horse's coat. Now, this brush requires a little lighter hand than the boar's brush. It's quite stiff, and you definitely don't want to change directions or poke at your fabric with this. You don't want to damage the wool, but do a couple of test brushes and then take a look at it and make sure you're not pulling out pieces of your wool fabric. But this is the right tool for these very stubborn little seeds and burrs. I just want to stroke upward, maybe do a little bit of meticulous handwork, and then finish by stroking downwards. Never change direction, never jab at the wool, and just work these loose with elbow grease and patience. And I'll maybe come back to you here when we have a cleaner coat to show off. Well, thank you for your patience. I am back. It took me about 15 minutes to clean all of the vegetation off of this coat, partly because I'm a faster brusher when I'm not trying to film as well, but about 15 minutes, and this is probably the worst possible soil that you'd see. And what I'm now doing is using a damp boar bristle brush, just wet it with cold water and then flicked all the water out of the bristles, using a damp brush just to try to get the dirt and soil out of it and kind of groom it back to life. But proper use of the brush with a vigorous but not strident flick of the wrist. I can look at the bristles and see that I don't have little wool fibers hanging on in there. I have more pieces of boar bristle in the coat than I have pieces of wool in the brushes. So that's what you want to see. If you had used the tape, there would have been just lots and lots of wool fibers lost to the tape. But proper brushing, keep your jacket in good condition, and it just feels very old-fashioned and manly.